Hola. This is the God edition, I guess, of my video update. So basically, the God edition is what I've been learning about Jesus and leadership and everything else. So, first of all, I learned one thing about persuading people, and, well, first of all of these things that I'm going to be kind of going over, I'm skipping a lot of different days that I've been learning stuff, and it's just like the main points that stood out to me right now. So, yeah. So when you're persuading people and trying to get people to volunteer for you, you want to give them a problem. So list the problem and make them actually like want to do something to help. And make sure that you're honest too with the problem and be like, yeah, it's going to be hard, or, saying the difficulty level. And then you give them the solution. So, problem and then solution. Usually people will, follow after that. And a very important thing after asking the problem and the solution, and then asking if they would like to help out, is silence. So that's a key issue or a key thing to do. Just stay silent and wait until the response, and don't just go on and start talking with like random words and everything, because it won't kind of pressure them into making that decision of saying, yes, I will help you. And another mistake is that the person switches to the solution too fast. So you want to kind of stay on the problem and make it sound like an absolute issue, like we really need you, like this is all we have, like you're all we have, and we would love for you to, help us with this type of thing. So that was basically what I got out of the persuasion topic. And then a funny, kind of, you guys probably know this, but a lifelong lesson that Shane taught us was that you put your big tasks first, then your littler tasks, and then your tertiary activities, which he used a demonstration with like boulders and then smaller rocks and then sand. So if you fill a jar with sand first, then the little rocks, then the boulders, they won't fit. But then if you put the boulders and the little rocks and the sand afterwards, it will all fit. And at church on Sunday, this guy named Andrew McCourt was speaking, and he was talking about favoritism and how we aren't supposed to show favoritism. And basically, if you're showing favoritism, you're not doing the will of God, because God does not want you to show favoritism, because he loves everybody the same and everyone is God's favorite. So, yeah. And then also, when we were judging people, we were basically saying that they have less of God's image than ourselves. So do not judge people either, because that would be really sad to just say that somebody does not have, or has less than God's image. Because everybody has just an equal amount of God's image. Just sometimes people don't reveal it because they're so overwhelmed in sin. Just thought I should put that in there. Okay. Another cool thing that I learned is, the title of it is called Big Scale Church Issues. And so we're supposed to be abiding and abounding in God. So abiding means seeking refuge in the Lord. And also it means being sheltered in the Lord. And then abounding means serving God and being all in. And so there's a good tension between them. So basically, this is abiding, this is abounding, and when you abide more, you kind of like bring the tension this way towards the abiding side. But when you abound, you're bringing the tension towards this side. They're like, think of it as a rubber band. So you have to keep it kind of sort of even, but sometimes it's okay to abound more and sometimes it's okay to abide more. It's not like you're supposed to get rid of one and then just continue to do the other one all the time, because if you're doing that, like just doing one of them, only one of them 100% of the time, you're missing out on the other half. And then John Jackson spoke at the staff meeting on last Wednesday, and one of the things that he said, he laid out was 4 aspects of winning leadership. And the first one is calling, which is, in parentheses I put, winning with God. The second is character, which means winning with yourself. The third is community, which means winning with others. And then the fourth is competency, which means winning over obstacles. And number 1 is most important because we want to always be on the right page with God. And we want to be a leader who is worth following, because if a leader isn't following God, then you do not want to be following that leader, because that leader is following something else in the world, and God is the best person to follow. And then number 2 is really good also, because number 2 is probably second, because we have to be a person with good character when nobody else is watching. And that's very important, because people will find out your character eventually, or they'll suspect if you have a bad character when nobody else is watching. And then at the retreat for the shore, we went up Thursday. So the Shore Corps went up on Thursday, and we were learning some extra leadership skills and everything. And one of the things that we got to learn was about reproducing yourself as a leader, because we all wanted to know more about that aspect. And so I have 6 different steps that I wrote down, so I will share. So the first step is you have to look for people. So obviously you need people to recruit when you're going to reproduce yourself as a leader. And then you have to see that person's potential rather than just trying to pick them because they're really good. You know, God recruited tax collectors and fishermen and people who weren't really qualified at the time. But he saw the possibilities in them. And then you speak the future to them. And so that basically means you say, one day I see you as being a great leader, or one day I see you speaking, or one day I see you leading a small group, or just whatever God puts on your heart that you see them being able to do. And you continually say it and encourage them with that. And then you want to take them with you. So that means when you go into meetings, or you go to your work, or you go and do volunteering or something, you want to take them with you so they get to see what you do, and so they can learn from that. And then 5th, you give them ownership. So you don't just give them tasks. So you actually want to give them something that they can take part in and take ownership in and lead. So they get that little bit of experience. And instead of saying, for example, like make or chop up these strawberries, you say, make these strawberries look beautiful. So, instead of just going up and cutting strawberries, you're actually like, oh, look, I get to make these strawberries beautiful. And then 6th is you don't solve their problems for them, which sounds weird. But for example, if they come up to you with some little problem like, can I Or where are the trash bags? You don't just go like, oh, the trash bags are under the sink. Be like, oh, you can find them. I believe in you. And that's like a little easy task. And so just let them know that they can do it on their own, unless you or somebody comes to you with a big question, and then you actually need to solve their problem. Then solve that problem. And then also another thing that we learned during the retreat was about the three of us, which is kind of like, it's interesting because we have the body, soul, and spirit, kind of like how God has, his Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And we have three parts to us as well, because we're made in God's image, but a little bit differently, And also Andrew McCourt was speaking on this. And we have the body, soul, and spirit. And he was basically saying how our bodies are a temple and how they're made holy. And they are, like, since we have the Holy Spirit in us, we are God's, and we are beautiful. And everybody's beautiful because they're made by God. And if you're saying that you're not beautiful also, is a complete insult to God, because God's like, I am beautiful, I made you, you are beautiful too. So just a little bit of encouragement there. And then I also got to learn about spiritual warfare, because we had breakaways in that retreat. We had 2 breakaways, and we also had small groups. So I chose to learn about spiritual warfare and also about the mind and psychology and all of that stuff. I love science. So it was fun. And let's see. Oh, and then lastly, today at staff meeting, we had this lady named Roberta come in, and she was really, really awesome. It was really, really good. And I think it was actually the best staff meeting that I've ever been to. It was really, really good. But she was basically going over Jesus's process of developing disciples based on the Bible and everything and what Jesus did. And so I wrote down a list of 12 different things that he did. So I'm just going to go over these really fast. And of course, this is not everything that we learned, because the meeting took 30 minutes to an hour type thing. So, but these are just little bullet points. So the first one was the proclamation. So I basically put Jesus demonstrated during this little phase. So he demonstrated his character and his life. And then the second was invitation to relationship. So Jesus shows them the spirit of receptivity and hospitality. That's what I put on there. So he basically said, take up your cross and follow me. And the third one is he had his first recruitment to service. So, the person said, okay. So that was great. And then fourth, he demonstrated, taught, and showed his intimate life with them, or shared his intimate life with them. So, if he was going through a tough time or something, or he was really sad, he would share that with them and let them in his life. And he didn't just mask his life, which is good. And I wrote down also, under the number 4 is Jesus is a servant leader before and among them. So he was serving and practicing humility and all that stuff, even though he's the most humble. But, Jesus serves. And then fifthly, I put called to costly commitment. So Jesus reveals the honest truth to serving. So he basically lays it down, is like, this is not easy. You're going to be persecuted but it's going to be very rewarding, and we would love to have you. And just, he didn't want to like con anybody into serving him, because if you just lie to them, then they find out and stop serving. And so it's just like, okay, I'm going to be brutally honest here, and it's going to be hard to serve me. And 6, he prepared. So he built into the leaders, into his 12 disciples. And then 7, I put delegation and experience. So he gave them some tasks. And 8, they had challenges and failures. So they went through different trials in life and different challenges in their leading lives. And then 9, they were called to confess their faith. And then 10, I wrote prayer, because Jesus, before he died, was just praying like crazy. And then he died and was resurrected, of course. And then 11, I put he expanded his ministry because people saw him rise from the dead, and were completely shocked, and it was definitely like a huge eye opener to them, especially James, because James was a skeptic, and James didn't believe that Jesus was actually the Son of God, and God, 100% God, 100% man. And he saw that Jesus was resurrected and saw the holes in his hands and was like, wow, this really is God, and he went out to tell the world. That's why he wrote the book of James, if anybody wanted to know. So yes, after people saw him alive and well, they went on to share the gospel and the good news. So expanded ministry. And then 12 kind of ties in, and I wrote empowered to go. So they were empowered to go throughout the lands and share the good news of Christ and do what God basically did. And yeah, that is everything for now. Oh, also one more thing. Sorry, it's going super late. But on Monday, I had some type of like revelation type thing that my friend told me about. And she was saying that there's something called familiar spirits, which is basically like demons, which they are demons actually. And usually demons and Satan love to tempt us. And we literally have the mind of Christ. So our thoughts, if they are not of God, which you would know if they're of God, but if they're not of God, as in they're not pure, or they're not, or if they're like, oh, you're worthless, or they're saying, you suck or something, those aren't of God, and those are the familiar spirits, and that's like Satan whispering to you in your own voice. And sometimes we choose to believe this and don't realize that it's actually Satan trying to bring us down, and we often definitely believe these things about us, or about other people. And we just have to acknowledge it and be like, hey, Satan, you don't own my life. Jesus has me now, and I don't have that mind anymore. And yeah, that's basically it. Sorry it went so long, but goodbye. I hope everybody has a great night and day and morning.